Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be discussing 1, the 2 most important dimensions in mountain bike geometry, 2, why they're so important, 3, how to measure them, and 4, things you can do to slightly modify these numbers to best suit your riding style. Stick around. If you have ever looked at a bike's spec sheet, it can be really confusing. And while wheelbase, chainstay length, head tube angles, and C-tube angles all have a definite impact on how a bike handles, the 2 dimensions that have the most effect on how the bike fits you and how you can react on the bike are the reach and the stack. So let's start off by defining what that means.
Frame reach is defined as the horizontal distance from the vertical of the bottom bracket to the center of the head tube. And stack is defined as the vertical distance from the center of the bottom bracket to the center of the head tube.
We know what reach and stack are, but my second point was, why is this so important? Well, anytime you're riding and you're doing something that's going to be very dynamic on the bike, whether that's going to be cornering, steep descents, drops, hops, or even jumping, you're going to be in the attack position. And in this position, if these dimensions are fit for you, you'll be completely comfortable on the bike, you won't be overly stretched out, your body won't be too high, and you'll be able to have movement up and down and front and back. Also, in this position, you should be able to comfortably at any time be able to take your hands off the bars and not feel like you're falling forward or back. That tells you you've got a good balanced position on the bike where your weight is primarily pushing through the bottom bracket with just enough weight on the bars to keep them loaded for turns and the ability to be able to move and unweight or weight as you need to. We know what it is. We know why it's important. Now we need to figure out how to measure it. And it can be a little bit difficult and it might require a friend and a couple levels, but I'll show you an easier way that I've come up with to be able to get a good idea of where my baseline is and to be able to actually make some changes that I can actually document for the future. And like I said, these are going to be frame reach numbers, which will take the measurement just from the bottom bracket to the center of the head tube. So let's go ahead and get a quick measurement of that, and then I'll show you how we can make some adjustments if we have a bike that isn't exactly what we want it to be. So here we can get a good, accurate measurement of the height of the bottom bracket. Then we just move this over to the center of the head tube and get a measurement of that. Now between those two, that'll give us an accurate measurement of the stack height. For the reach, center this on the bottom bracket. Then we just use the number we found here at this point and measure horizontally over to the center of the head tube, and that is your reach. So we just talked about how the reach and the stack are both referenced off of the center of the head tube. However, we don't ride the bike holding on to the top of the head tube. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to call the real reach and real stack, which are going to reference the bottom bracket to the point in the middle of the grip where we're actually holding onto the bike. That way we can actually compare different bikes with different dimensions that take into account different bars, stems, and stacks. Here you can see I've attached a piece of white electrical tape from the middle of each grip on the top, and then I have a black line drawn across the middle which as long as your front wheel is straight, and I've got it bungeed so it doesn't curve, we can use that line to this point to get an accurate, real reach measurement. And for the real stack, we can just measure just to the point where the tape touches the center of the grip, subtract the bottom bracket height that we determined earlier, and that'll give us our real stack. We've gone through this whole process. Why do we do it? I think the main reason you want to do this is so that you know if your bike is properly sized for your body. If you're like me, on the Trek website, I'm actually between sizes on this bike. Even though I'm 6 feet, they're saying I could be a medium/large. And I know now that I prefer a reach of about 470, and the medium is a 450. Now, if I tried to ride the medium bike with my relatively long arms and long torso for somebody my height, it would be incredibly cramped. So that's useful for me. So I also know if I want to rent a bike, I can look up the dimensions on that and see, based mainly on the reach dimension alone, what's probably going to feel the best for me. So I mentioned earlier that we are going to try to be able to modify some of these dimensions if the current bike you're on doesn't feel the way you want and you really can't buy another bike. Those things you can change are spacers above and below the stem. You can change your stem to be longer or shorter. You can do a stem that has a rise to it. You can have a bar that has a rise or flat if you want to change it that way. You can also use a sweep. So if you increase the sweep, that tends to push you back more on the bike also. Decrease the sweep and it'll pull you forward, and it would basically increase the real reach. And one thing that a lot of people don't think about is if you are used to a 750 mil bar and go to an 800, what that's doing is that is leaning you forward, which is effectively increasing your reach and bringing your weight more into the front wheel. So there's a lot of factors that you can go into that will change the reach forward and back, as well as your stack height up and down. So go out, get some measurements on your bike, find out what you're currently riding. If you ride somebody else's bike and you like that better, go ahead and measure that one. Give you an idea what you like. If you have any questions about anything that I did today, leave it in the comment section down below. If you like this, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're like me and just refuse to act your age, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching.